this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a metadata file for your images. Metadata is important. This metadata will contain who you are, your address, your phone number, if you want to add your phone number, your email address, contact information, and generally that's what you can add. And specifically, if you're exporting images that are going to, for instance, a publisher, or they're going to a magazine, or they're going somewhere, you can also add where the photos were taken. If there are people that need to provide you a model release, you can add that in there. You can add the ages of people in there. You can add all sorts of stuff. So what I'm going to do right now is just speak generally about creating a metadata file that will go with all of your images every time you export. Some people kind of push back against having metadata because they think, oh, I'm never gonna put these up anywhere. Nobody's ever gonna have them. I will just say, do this up the front, because you never know down the road what might happen to your images, especially in our environment where we upload all sorts of stuff to, all sorts of social. Most people have stuff all over social media, and you don't know if somebody's going to find your image somewhere and go, oh, I would like to buy this image, and they want to get hold of you. So just make it a practice to create this every year, and then you'll have it. It'll be automatic in your images, and it's a done deal. You don't have to think about it. So in Lightroom, this is Lightroom Classic. I'm going to make sure that I have chosen library. Let's get a little color here so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm going to get this out of the way here. I'm going to try and get this out of the way. There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm in library. This is where you can create a lot of your information. So I'm just going to go down the list here. This is what you'll see in library. You'll see quick develop, which allows you to do really quick edits to something, not granular edits, but just really quick. The next thing you'll have is keywording. I'm going to come back to this, but keywording is really important. It's really, in my mind, critical to add keywords to your images for a bunch of reasons. One being that down the road you can create collections and smart collections that rely on these keywords. We'll come back to that later on. But you'll see in this list here the keywords that I've already applied to this image here, which is 2024 pottery, something I made this year, and then just pottery generally. And then Lightroom will suggest other keywords. They usually will not apply, but sometimes they do. And then you can add keywords here if you like. Then down here is where you're going to see metadata, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Oh, sorry, I'll keep that in there. So you will probably see in preset right here, none. That's fine. You can add for an image or a group of images and fill in this information here. I've done this way for this image because my other preset is not related to my pottery. So you can have several presets. I have presets saved for 2 other photographers whose work I sometimes edit, and then I have my own. So I'll just show you what's in mine here. In presets, you'll see the default is none. And then I have Jason, who's my partner. I have mine. This was somebody else who I'm working with. This is my pottery. Okay, so here's how we create it. This image here, like I say, it's going to default to whatever the file name is, and it'll default to what folder this image is in. But here is where I can start adding things. So I can title it something. If you are doing a project and you want that project to have a title, this is where you're going to put it. So I could just title these pottery in here. The caption is unnecessary, but you could, if you wanted to, say you're doing a show or you're doing something for a publication, you could input your captions. If you're doing for a publication, the person who, or the people, or the organization that's doing the publication may use your captions, or they may use what you've written to create their captions. But anyway, it's a good idea to put that in if it's intended for a publication of some sort. Publication means in a magazine, in a directory, on the walls. That's all publication. Your copyright is really important. So normally your copyright is going to say your first name. If you have a middle name, use either your full middle name or a middle initial, and then your last name. It's important. It's really critical that your information goes with these photos, because your copyright happens the second you press the shutter on a camera. The creator is yourself, same thing. You can add your ratings in here. If you think this is an amazing photo, you can add whatever rating you want in here. This information here, the capture date, will be captured from your camera. This photo, I made this photo on January 10th, so that'll be automatic. You can change that, however, if you're like a lot of people and you haven't either put in any information in your camera itself, or the information is wrong. Like if you've bought the camera from somebody else, sometimes the date is wrong or the time is wrong. So you can change this easily. You just click on it and you'll be able to change that. This will show you by default the dimensions of the image, and then some of this information, again, you can put this in. So I add it because, my pottery is made here in Calgary, my province, and I do add an email in this because sometimes I post these and obviously I want to sell my work. So whether you're selling pottery like I am in this instance, or you're selling a photo, you want people to be able to contact you. I would suggest for most photographers, your personal email may not be the best email to have here. Gmail, of course, is a free service, so you can create your photography email there and just kind of protect your own personal stuff. So obviously, you're going to go to Gmail and create a new email address and have that be what you're going to use here. If you have a website, it's going to go in there. My job title with respect to this pottery is ceramicist, because the people at the school told me to use that name. Otherwise, I would have said hobby potter. Credit line. So this is where, if you are the person taking the image, then you would put your name in. If I had somebody else photograph this pottery for me, I might put their name in that credit line. And then your event, if you are shooting an event or you're making work for some exhibition, the event would be, so for instance, when I was shooting my work, during our exhibition, and it was whatever city, I would put the name of the exhibition and where I shot that. So that would have been, for instance, Tripping the Streets, Fantastic, New York. And that's what that is. Okay, so that's on the fly, creating a metadata file. To get around doing this every time, you will come up to this preset, and instead of none, you want to edit presets. So click on the double arrow there, and then go down to the bottom of this menu, click on edit presets, and what you will get is this box here. So some things you won't necessarily need to have. If you open these up, this area here can be very granular, which is to say you might want to add this if you're selecting a group of photos that are going to a specific place. But generally, basic info you don't have to add. Camera info is maybe necessary if you want to remember. So for instance, if you shot something somewhere and you want to remember where that is, you can add the GPS information. Sometimes I do archiving of buildings, and it's important in that case. But again, this is specific to a group of photos. It's not a general a thing that you would add to photos generally. So leave this for now. IPTC accessibility, you don't need to fill that in, and then content, same thing. But here's where this gets important. Your copyright is important. So your copyright is going to be usually your first name, middle initial, if you have one, and your last name. Your copyright status is always going to be copyrighted. Please don't skip that over. It's your work, and the more often you can remind viewers and users that this is your work, the better. Your rights usage terms should always say no use without permission, license, and payment, because if it doesn't, people will go, well, you didn't specify. So just specify, use that. And if you have on your website a copyright text or information or directions, you can put the information here, the URL to where that exists on your website. The next section here is your creator information, and this is where this is stuff you want to add to every single photo. So you will have your name, your address. I will say this with caution. I don't necessarily add my address to my images, especially when they're just photography images. I don't necessarily want people coming to my door. So you can leave the address out, but the city, the province, and postal code, I think, are safe enough. Obviously your country. And then with your phone number here, again, if you don't want your phone number to appear or be available, you can leave that out. I'm going to actually take this out of here because that is not the phone number that belongs to this information here. The email address is whatever you create or use. Your creative website, if you have one, that's where that goes. And your job title. Normally, your title will be photographer. This next section here, the date that the image was created is going to be automatic, so you don't have to change that. And then again, all of this stuff here, I would be careful adding it, because what you're creating here is a general metadata file, which will go with absolutely every photo you bring into Lightroom. So intellectual genre you can leave. You can always, when you're exporting images, you can always add this information to a group of exported images and just update it in here. And then you will come down here to status. Normally this will say photographer. If there are instructions for use, again, remember that this is a general metadata file, so you may not want to add those instructions here. Those normally will pertain to a specific group of photos. And then the next thing down here is, that's it. So with this metadata file here that I've created, I always add pottery and 2024 pottery, but you will probably not want to do that in this general metadata file. That again is information that you would want to be specific about adding to a group of photos. So I'm going to remove that for right now. Okay, now when you click done, it's going to say, hey, wait, is this a new preset? So if you're creating a brand new metadata preset, yes, it is. So you're going to save that as, and what I have in my presets is this general metadata preset created for each year. So this may be you may want to say 2024 copyright. I guess this would be, right, your name, comma, and the year. And then you're just going to create that. So now this exists. So then when you're done that, you're going to come back over here and you're going to choose that new preset you made. Lightroom will default to the last thing you did, whatever it is. So if you choose that now, your new preset, close down Lightroom, and then you come back in a couple of days, when you come into the library module here and come down to metadata, you're going to see that preset that you made appear there by default. And then you can apply that to any photos that you choose to export. So let's say I'm taking these, I'm going to choose these 4 photos right here. I know that this preset right here is available. So did you see that it disappeared, right? So I'm going to grab these 4, I'm going to go into here and I'm going to grab that specific preset, and it's going to say, do you want this to apply to all of those selected? If you can say yes, and if you never want to see this message again, you just want Lightroom to do what you tell it, you can click don't show again. I'm going to click that to all selected, which is going to just apply to these 4, and it's going to send these images out with that preset, and I can amend that now. So I can come back down in this list and add things in here, or I could create a new preset based on this preset with additional information in that. And that's a good habit to have. Leave your general preset alone, your general metadata preset, leave it alone. And then if you are exporting images for a specific reason, build a new preset based on that. So you'll just go back into edit presets. It'll default to that preset there. So everything that you created in this preset is going to be available. But now you can add information in here and save it as, you know, photos for such and such a purpose. Okay, if you have questions, you can email me. My email is going to appear on this video in the description.